Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop, Emerald Planet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello, and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States. As we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, and products that are making a difference as we go through the 21st century. And as we go to a planet that will have 9 billion people by 2050, how are we going to be able to provide the food, the fuel, the fiber, all the basic infrastructure that they need? And I have two individuals sitting right beside me here in our studio in Washington, D.C. They're going to be talking about herbs, fitness, traditional medicines, and all the things that we have known about in the past, been around in many civilizations for thousands of years, forgotten, and now being rediscovered. And we have two experts. One is Elizabeth Gilhuly, she is the president, and Cara Cutro, who is the secretary for the American Herbalist Guild, the Washington, D.C. Metro chapter. And ladies, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Hello.
Glad to have you with us. Thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit, Elizabeth, what is the American Herbalist Guild, and a little bit also about the Washington, D.C. chapter that you have.
So the American Herbalist Guild was founded about 1989 to promote education in herbalism and to connect herbalists, different practitioners, the field of herbalism with clinical herbalists and other growers, wildcrafters, apothecaries, and be able to bring everybody together and promote education and understanding of the herbalism field.
Now tell us, I'm going to go back to you, what is an herbalist and what are herbs? Because many people watching this probably have no idea what we're talking about.
An herbalist is there can be a clinical herbalist, someone who's really studied in depth the use of herbs for medicinal purposes. Mm-hmm. And then there can be home herbalists, like mothers that use elderberry syrup when their children are sick. Mm-hmm. And all the way up to naturopathic doctors also that use herbalism, traditional Chinese medicine. I mean, there's also aromatherapists use essential oils, mm-hmm. and other, I'd say maybe newer practices like flower essence therapy. It's like a bit of homeopathy. Mm-hmm. So there's many different types.
But what's an herb? How would you define an herb?
And an herb, I mean, peppermint's an herb. It's a plant that grows in your garden. There's a lot of different plants we'd think would have, we'd classify as an herb that has a purpose, it has a use. Mm-hmm. Certain ones are poisonous, you don't want to eat those, and we usually know when you've studied plants, mm-hmm. You can use.
So these be both for medicine and also for food preparation at the same time, right? And there'd be different categories of those.
Well, your food is medicine, so you can use the herb strictly in a clinical sense, mm-hmm. that if under the guidance of a professional, that you know the dosage and the frequency of use and that sort of thing. And then on your own terms, you can use it in your cooking. Mm-hmm. So turmeric is a perfect example. You can make, they call it golden milk. It's like a drink, mm-hmm. Or you just use it in your food on a regular basis. But the use in food wouldn't be considered like a clinical medicinal use because the amount that you're putting in your food is probably a lot lower. It's not as concentrated or directed for a particular result.
I got it. Cara, looking at in modern day world, you know, we're producing laboratory meat. We're producing food and various types of petri dishes and all these other kinds of things. But yet we're reaching back in time and history to pull forward many herbs that we've forgotten about or maybe used a little bit, but most people don't really know much about them. So why is it important to rediscover and to really emphasize the use of herbs in modern day society?
Well, I think people want to be healthy and they want to live longer, and I feel like an integrative approach to health is what people lean toward these days because people want to live. I mean, it's really just that simple. They want healthier lives. They want to see more results when they're having issues. They go to a doctor or to a practitioner, and they want to make sure that they can live longer and be healthier.
Mm-hmm. But in many cases, though, use of herbs, whether we're using it as a spice in food or we're using it as a food, many times that we're helping to avoid illness. And I think this is one of the things about traditional Oriental medicine, is that you want to live a healthy life. So it's all about wellness instead of illness prevention or illness curing people that are sick. So how would you define it from that standpoint of how herbs help us do that?
Well, you can come in at a preventative angle, which of course is always preferred, and herbs can be a lot more effective and having a lifestyle that is one that you would call one of wellness if you're doing it from a preventative place. A lot of times people will come to someone like me, or when I worked at an herb school, people would come in and they were really on their last leg. You know, they had let cancer riddle their bodies and they're kind of turning to herbalism as a last resort. And it's not that it can't be helpful at that point, because it certainly can, but it was always such a shame to see that people hadn't come sooner, they hadn't tried it sooner, because it would have been able to help them, I think, so much more. So if people are willing to reach out now and educate themselves and try something different, I mean, it's really not that difficult to just integrate some tea into your life, you know, have an infusion of lemon balm, say, to relax, or, you know, taking vitamin C, or, you know, there's so many different things we can do just to maintain health.
And enhance it before we even become ill. And I think that's really what we're talking about, because when you're using 17, 18% of the gross domestic product, you know, to provide for health care, and we could be ingesting this on a day-to-day basis and keeping ourselves healthy, avoid obesity, avoid diabetes and these kinds of things, because a lot of those, some of it's hereditary, but a lot of it's lifestyle choice. And so we can do much better with that. Elizabeth, do you have members that are part of your guild, your local chapter? And if you do, what would be the appearance or the attitude or the nature of a quote-unquote typical member, if you have such a thing?
Well, the American Herbalist Guild organization has paid membership to support their work. And there are professional members who are professional herbalists that they meet certain criteria. So there is that, and those people also would be considered members of our group. There's also those that are not paid members of AHG, but are also still part of the group because they want to learn more about herbalism, or they're students and they want to be a part of it. So I consider members people that want to participate in the community. They want to educate others about what they do. They want to share their craft.
Yeah, and so what you're saying is that there really is no general type that you have. It's very mixed. You have a lot of people, but they have a kind of a focus, if you will, both for what they want to ingest, meaning food, herbs, those kinds of things, but at the same time is that they want to have a wellness type of mentality and a wellness lifestyle. Would that be a general theme that most of your members would have?
Yeah, I would say the practitioners themselves as members trying to educate others and find people who are looking for their services. So there's that angle. And of course there's people that want to come and learn more about herbalism. So we'd easily be able to connect them with the practitioners that they're looking for. Because it can sometimes not always be easy to locate the type of practitioner you're looking for. So it helps. It's a network that helps connect everybody.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it's a wonderful service that you're providing. Cara, what types of services do you actually provide to the members that you have, and how would people find out about you?
Well, I would suggest, of course, visiting the website. That's the easiest thing to do these days.
And the URL is what?
It's the AmericanHerbalistGuild.com, so it's easy to find. And we have a symposium that's annually put on. There are classes that are free, workshops. There's a directory of school and practitioners that's available. I mean, there's all sorts of things that are there on the website that the AHD offers. It also offers student membership. So if you're a student of herbalism or an herbal enthusiast, you can come in at that level, but you could also become a registered herbalist, which would be the highest attained sort of title that you could have. And I believe it is the best title to have here in the US in terms of being like a legitimate herbalist that's practicing herbalism.
Well, the one thing I find very interesting too is many of the universities now have sports medicine as an example. They also have dietary studies and degrees. And is that another way that people could come into all this and maybe augment what they're learning through their sports medicine or dietary science or anything like that and combine their herbalism with it?
Well, sure. When I was studying herbalism originally in the beginning, the first thing we did was started with digestion. It was all about food, and that was the main piece. So I think that learning about herbs integrates into any type of health, any type of healthy lifestyle thing that someone might be learning, whether it's sports medicine or, massage therapy, chiropractic. I mean, anything really. Anything
as far as a holistic healthcare attitude. Elizabeth, and we have to be quick on this because we're almost running out of time. Well, as far as the people that you're getting, I understand you're probably having an increased growth of number of people that are becoming involved. Why do you think it is in the 21st century that people are really looking back to the past and seeing how they can incorporate this into a modern lifestyle?
Well, truthfully, it was never a part of the past. It was always a continuous part of everyone's lifestyle, but focusing more on other areas, other types of healthcare practitioners, then this now, with the interest of economic reasons and this sort of thing, using herbalism in the home is also more affordable, and it's just something they can implement. Or maybe they have tried other types of approaches that weren't working for them, so they were just looking for something more holistic. I think generally people are looking for more holistic healing that is integrating their diet and lifestyle and such.
And what do you see for the growth and development of your organization? And we have to be quick, about 5 seconds to do all that.
I see it's going to continue to grow because of people's growing interest in holistic health.
Well, thank you for being with us, and thank you to your viewers for being here to learn about the American Herbalist Guild and what's going on there as we create the Emerald Planet.
Every time I hear the alarm bell go off in school, I think it's an air raid.
A lot of houses in our neighborhood have been destroyed. I like to close my ears and sing songs whenever the bombs come close.
I'm worried our new neighbors won't like us.
But I know it's all gonna be worth it. I just want my family to be safe. But these are not my words.
These are not my words.
These are not my words.
Listen to smoke before you give it a try. Only you. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about nothing very nice. Homeless mind. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches. Don't play with fire.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire.
How far would you go to protect the planet?
I want you to build an ark.
Here we go. Okay, that's good. Oh, okay. Ow.
Maybe there's another way.
People, the flood is imminent.
Is it too much to ask for a little precipitation?
Go to fightglobalwarming.com to find out what you and your community can do to reduce global warming pollution.
When it comes to saving money,
What?
don't act like a baby.
Oh, it's like they're having their own little meeting.
This is so humiliating.
Be the boss.
I'm the boss.
What the?
Power nap.
You were saying.
And make a budget.
Let's get to work.
Need a little help?
Stacy, read back the notes.
I can't read. What's it say?
Create a personalized savings plan and get other tools and tips
We can share.
You obviously didn't go to business school.
at feedthepig.org.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet. Thank you for being with us as we come to you on a week-to-week basis. As we say, we're looking for the best of the best practices across the globe in 144 nations, and looking for those 1,000 best practices that are really making a difference in people's lives. And as we add 2 billion new people to the planet by 2050, how are we going to be able to take care of all those people so that we're enhancing and increasing their quality of life instead of just existing? And I have someone sitting right beside me that directly, indirectly is actually doing all that. This is Dr. Susan Leopold. She's Executive Director of the United Plant Savers. And welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm going to call you Dr. Leopold
Okay,
because I think that's a really good thing to do. You spent a lot of time getting your doctorate. But tell us a little bit about this United Plant Savers.
Yes. United Plant Savers was founded in 1994 by Rosemary Gladstar and a group of herbalists, and those that were in the herbal industry and were harvesters and growers. And there was concern that many of our native medicinal plants to the United States were actually being over-harvested for a rapidly growing herbal industry. So the organization formed under that mission as conservation of our native at-risk medicinal plants.
Mm-hmm. Now looking at that, you know, climate change is real.
Absolutely.
No matter what some people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
And of course the rapid urbanization of people, more than 80% of the American population now live in urban areas.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have, people think we have these vast areas, but of course more and more people are moving into woodlands and to marginal land that have never been lived in before. Does that impact on what you're trying to do as far as the herbs and the types of plants that can be used both for medicines and for food?
Right, absolutely. You know, our Appalachian Mountains are a biodiversity hotspot for medicinal plants, and that was noted in the 17 and 1800s when early plant explorers were discovering the incredible biodiversity. And what we've done is we've taken a path of resource extraction. And not only have we lost land to rapid growth of urbanization, but we've lost land to horrific choices such as mountaintop removal and many of the practices that we've allowed to happen through forestry management and logging of all our old growth forests. So we're facing kind of a catastrophic issue on multiple levels, you know, many spikes to the wheel, so to speak. So it's not just that these plants are being over-harvested, it's that we're facing literally an extinction crisis. Mm-hmm. And so global biodiversity is diminishing at a rapid pace.
Yeah, and this is something that's really important, and what people are finding is when you go into monocultures, you're taking out old growth trees and you're bringing in all, say, white pines, or you're bringing in all, you know, some kind of conifer, what have you. Mm-hmm. If you get a disease, you lose the whole forest. Instead of having this biodiversity, which actually helps to protect one to the other.
It's our intelligence. We're diminishing our planet's intelligence.
Yeah, and it's amazing how intelligent the plants are. And people listening to this will think this is kind of crazy, but they now found out that trees actually can communicate over hundreds of miles as long as the root systems are connected.
Yes.
But looking at all this, what are the different types of herbs and natural plants are either you're protecting, you're planting, or you're storing, so that we actually have this as a legacy?
Absolutely.
So that if some does disappear, then they can be planted elsewhere and then
It's right. So we have an at-risk and a to-watch list that is on our website, and so we're working in several different capacities. One capacity is we have a botanical sanctuary network. We have a botanical sanctuary in southern Ohio, 360-acre botanical sanctuary that has many of the Appalachian plants that we try to conserve: golden seal, ginseng, cohosh, to name those that are most popular. anybody can join the Sanctuary Network. So we're building this kind of mycelium of plant conservation throughout the United States.
So it's almost like you have, if I can use this term, little lily pads.
Yes.
So you have people that are out there. They may have special land. It could be a farm that no longer has gone from dairy to beef cattle or whatever. And then they have these areas they can protect. And then that can become part of your sanctuary.
So our
how do you do that?
Well, we're a small organization, so our main mission is education and advocacy, and then we want to empower people to do something themselves. Often we can feel kind of overwhelmed. How can we do something? Feel helpless? How do we combat forces that seem greater than we can confront? And so the Botanical Sanctuary Network is something anybody can be a part of. You can read about it on our website. You can download the application. You can apply, and we kind of guide you through the process, which is assessing what kind of plants you may have on your land, and then what would be the right habitat to introduce those native medicinals that might thrive there, and then how do you plan to educate and do outreach in your community. And there is no right or wrong answer to those questions, so it's something that anybody can do and be a part of. And we have urban gardens to big pieces of land to 10-acre, there's no right or wrong. It's just about having the intention to want to be conscientious and aware of what plants are growing near you and how you can manage that resource.
Now, through Emerald Planet, and also I serve on another board, which is the Natural Partners, and we're the ones that are actually helping to recreate the flyways for the monarch butterfly from Mexico all the way into Newfoundland and Canada. So how could that be incorporated into what you're doing so that we're protecting the monarchs, have the natural plants that they want, and then also to get at the herbs and the trees?
I think anytime we can understand the native plants that are growing on our land and how to do a better job managing them. Certainly with the monarchs, they also need the medicine too, right? So many of the milkweeds, Asclepia tuberosa, a lot of plants that are also medicinal are also food for these butterflies.
Yeah, that's very important. I'm going to read this statement. This came right off of your website, and what I want to do is just have you address this and about how this really fits into the schema all over across the United States, whether you're a landowner or you're in a 80-story high-rise in downtown Manhattan. This is all still important. And you say in your statement, these are exciting times for herbalists. We are witnessing the art of herbalism rapidly regaining its rightful place in the American tradition of health and healing. So this is a very powerful statement.
It is.
So how does this really fit? How close is this to reality, or how close is this to what you're hoping to recreate?
I think what, certainly my hope is that as people rediscover herbal medicine, that they'll actually learn about these plants and where they come from, and that will be a window into conservation and more environmental awareness that we need. I often tell people that where the food industry was 20 years ago is where the herbal industry is today. So as no one thought 20 years ago there was going to be a rise in organic agriculture, local food systems, and now look at where we're at. So now medicine
and urban gardening.
And now in my feeling, herbal medicine is that next step in consciousness, because if we learn about these herbs, many of them are long-lived perennials. Many of them need prairies, many of them need woodlands. So now we're taking it up a notch. We're moving from just what we can grow in the field to how we can manage our forests and our prairies.
Now, looking at this as health and healing. Now, again, this is a very powerful statement. So looking at health and healing, people are sitting there and they're thinking, well, how can I, better my health? In other words, don't, eat desserts 3 times a day and drink sugary drinks and all those things. But you're talking about something that's much more profound than that. That's important.
It is
but
important.
There's much more profound in this statement. Tell us what that is.
Well, the healing is connecting to our environment, and often those plants that grow right in our own backyard are communicating with us. They're telling us things, whether it be dandelions or whether it be burdock or plantain. I mean, you can teach a child how to, heal the simplest wound by knowing what plantain looks like in their yard. So it's really a great opportunity a hopeful sign about the rise in herbalism, as long as we can not just buy something off the shelf and not question what's in it, but actually be conscientious consumers about where our medicinal herbs come from.
Now we're looking at this as being something it's all natural, hopefully organic, but it could be all natural, and away from chemical fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides, and all that, which unfortunately takes the pollinators out of the existence. But now we have the ability to create food in laboratories and test tubes and all these other kinds of things. And I've asked this question before. Why is it important to protect the herbs, even though we have somewhat of a continuum from ancient days to today, but now it seems to be a rising consciousness that we have with the connection between the earth, herbs, trees, all these other kinds of things. So why do you think now, in the 21st century, that people are feeling this connectedness?
I think...
or maybe I should say want to feel the connectedness.
Right, because they feel disconnected. They're looking for the connection. The ecosystem is sick, just like we're sick. So there's a deep connection and awareness that needs to happen. So when we discover what we need to be healthier individuals, it kind of falls in tandem with what the ecosystem needs. So that's the deeper connection.
Yeah.
You know?
And what we're saying is that really we're healing ourselves as human beings. Hopefully we're sharing that with the animals around us and all plants, because they're a being like we are. But at the same time we're healing the earth. Is that what you're saying?
That's what my hope is for people when they start to discover herbal medicine. That they realize that deeper connection of being out in their environment and connecting with those plants that grow close to them. And we're also seeing a big change in ownership of land across the United States.
Yeah, and that's going to be huge as the baby boomers are passing on, and it's going to younger generations.
So we're also teaching cultivation through conservation. We're trying to bring awareness to how a younger generation that's learning about how to manage their forest lands can grow these medicinal plants in their woodlands.
There's one question I promised to ask you. Green business creation, small green business creation, and green jobs. How does that fit into this? And we have to be quick because we're almost out of time.
Well, I do want to mention the Appalachian Beginning Forest Farmers Coalition, and that what we're trying to do is empower people to use these plants, to see small businesses and to see a green economy come about that incorporates the non-timber forest products of our forests.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that you can't necessarily outsource either. So if you have the land, and it grows right there, and then that can go into the farmer's market or go into the greater market.
Right, we need to see the forest beyond just timber.
Yeah. Where do you see your organization, United Plant Savers, going over the next 5, 10, 15 years? And we ought to be quick, only about 15 seconds.
Where do I see our organization going? Well,
next 5, 10, 15 years.
Well, I definitely see our organization growing. We're building the Center for Medicinal Plant Conservation at our sanctuary in Ohio, and we hope people come and see us and learn about how to be stewards of these healing herbs.
Fantastic. This is Dr. Susan Leopold. She's the Executive Director of the United Plant Savers, something that's very important as we have these archives for the future. And thank you for being with us as we're looking around the globe as we work to create the Emerald Planet.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs? Just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
We just finished dinner and it was time for homework. He hates homework. I know he's bright.
Why is it so hard for me?
He's just gotta try a little harder.
1 in 5 children struggle with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to understood.org.
It's me, Artie. Come see what I collected from the Creative Galaxy in my idea box.
Transform your world.
Will you help me make art?
Each one of our journeys keeps us.
Before you throw it away,
Hey, I have an idea.
think outside the box.
We'll never get older. Each one
Go be amazing!
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
Most party fouls, not a big deal.
We're leaving.
But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving, the ultimate party foul.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you looking for what we call the best of the best practices that are being used, discovered, and cataloged all across the globe. And we're talking about specifically the use of herbs and many other traditional medicines and methodologies and processes that have been discovered over the last 6,000 to 10,000 years of written history all over the globe. There's no monopoly on knowledge, no monopoly on wisdom, and we have a gentleman sitting right beside me that's going to be sharing all of this with us. This is Dr. Nazirahk Amin,
yes.
And he is the president of what's called the Wisdom Faith Healing Center.
Wisdom Path Healing Center.
And I love the name of your organization, and thank you for being here and sharing that with us. What is the Wisdom Path Healing Center, and then why specifically this name, Wisdom Path Healing?
Right. So, well, I'm a naturopathic doctor and an acupuncturist licensed in the state of Maryland. And Wisdom Path Healing Center is my practice. So I've been in practice now for 18 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm also, you can look at me and see I have this beard and I wear purple every day. I'm part of a spiritual community. It's a universal spiritual community called Nazirahk Monastic Community. But, you know, I guess when you say what's unique to my practice is I practice energy medicine, which means that my definition of optimal health is really based in who we are. So I look at it as my definition of health is, you know, when we're healthy, we don't look at disease. We look at disease as an opportunity, but our energy is in present time. Our energy flows freely, and we can adapt to situations as they come up. So that's my definition of health, and I look at disease as an opportunity to come into present time. When disease means we're out of sync with our surroundings. So if we use that as an opportunity, instead of, you know, when we look at ourselves as just, you know, so the difference is we're a soul with a body, instead of a body with a soul somewhere out there in the universe. So if we come here and we understand what our purpose is, then our goal in life is to live out that purpose. But where do we get that purpose from? And we have all these different sort of structures around us that tell us, you know, what we should be and who we should be and what's success and what's not success. So, but health to me is when we can go into an internal reference and figure that out from, so health is when our heart is connected with our mind and our energy is in present time.
Yeah, people always ask me, you know, when you're going to go home, where is home? And I say, home is where the heart is, and I always take it with me everywhere I go.
Beautiful.
So I've been to 91 different countries, and I always have my heart with me everywhere I go,
Right.
and all that. And I think that, and what you're talking about is really the mind, the body, and the spirit balance.
Right.
And making sure that we keep that balance and we have this flow of energy through us.
Right.
But also it's a flow that we give to anyone around us.
Right.
And also the flow that they're giving back to us and being receptive to that. I think is that a good summary of where you are and what you're doing?
It means we're connected. we feel connected. You know, people think of love, and they think of love as like an emotion that you have towards another being. But true love is really the experience of interconnectedness with our surroundings. So I think, you know, the solution to all our problems is if we could all see how we are interconnected, then many of the problems of separateness that we get. So whether, you know, we feel separate as, you know, my country or my religion, or, you know, if we could really see that we're all humans walking on the same planet, and, you know, we only have a certain amount of resources, and we really need to make the best of the experience. I think we can create a much better world for our future, for ourselves and our future.
Well, the other side of that too is that we have infinite resources.
Right.
Because if we include everybody, we're inclusive. Everybody it's around us, which in essence, everybody that's on the planet is around us, plus all the animals and all the plants. That's one of the things I learned from the Dalai Lama, his direct representative, is that the plants are beings just as the animals and the humans are on it. And that was something that I discovered that night that I've never really forgot. But it's so profound because we're as much connected to the plants and the earth as we are connected to the animals and the humans that are around us. And I think that's very powerful. Some things that you're doing through your organization, this Wisdom Path Healing Center, is acupuncture, homeopathy, shiatsu. I threw that in because that's what I practice, and acupressure. But why are these important, and how do these fit into, I guess, a broad rubric of holistic wellness or holistic health? Just kind of give us a little summary of those, because I want to get into the herbalism and, you know, the all aspects of wellness.
Homeopathy and acupuncture are specifically energetic medicine. In acupuncture, you have a system of points on the body, and you're manipulating those points to move energy. So disease is always going to be, whether it's pain or some type of suffering, but it's considered stuck energy. So once you understand the system, you can use those points to manipulate energy and shift them throughout the body. Homeopathy works on some of the same principles. You're using like to treat like. So you take an artificial state in a human being, meaning, you know, let's say someone goes to a railroad track and they eat a bunch of sulfur. You know, it's going to make you hot, it's going to make you sweaty, it'll make your skin break out. And so if a patient comes in and they haven't done anything like this, they haven't eaten sulfur, but they have those symptoms that fit this pattern, do you understand? It means that's the way that their energy is stuck, and a homeopathic remedy can sort of shift your energy out of the pattern. So this is all, they're just tools that we use to help people get their energy back in sync. So, as well as the herbs. And so, you know, when we look at a system of herbal medicine, you know, when we talk about herbs, you have the Western tradition of herbs, which goes back to ancient Egypt, and in Greek you have Galen, who's like the father of Western herbs, and that goes all the way through a tradition. And then you have like the Dark Ages, where there was certain sets of monasteries and monks that sort of kept Galen's tradition together. And then you have, you know, during the persecution that was the Inquisition, you had sort of where these indigenous systems of medicine, it went back to sort of the wise woman tradition, is the people who were able to keep these systems intact. But then you go over to Tibet, you go to China, you go to Korea, you go to India. In India you had Ayurveda, and you have traditional Chinese medicine, but all of these people had systems of medicine. So when they looked at herbs, they looked at herbs from a systemic point of view, and even when I say energy medicine, they make it very simple. So you have Qi, energy, and then you have two sets of opposites, yin and yang. And so all of these herbs have qualities. You know, you have 5 flavors. You have bitter, you have salty, you have sour, you have sweet. You know, you have these flavors, and you have spicy. So these flavors affect the interaction of yin and yang. So all of the herbs are classified according to their flavors, and then we look at them in terms of their therapeutic effect and how they interact with the yin and yang. And you also have not just how they affect yin and yang, but the qi, the fluids, and the blood. So, you know, when we look at, but it's a more systemic way of using an herb versus in the West, and what has come down through the West because of the persecution that herbs faced at one point, it's a much more broken tradition, and it's harder to get the energetic component, whereas Chinese medicine, Oriental medicine, those systems remained intact for thousands of years.
Yeah, and this is one thing I learned because we deal with and by actual count, 403 holistic and herbal practitioners in Taiwan, as an example. And so we've provided certification for them of different things and all that. And what you learn through that is that, talking about the yin and the yang, it goes to the male, female, the light, dark, you know, all these dichotomies of that. But then how do you take those herbs and how does it best fit for your personality, your energy level, and all these other kinds of things? They're very important to understand yourself as you're understanding how to utilize these herbs and all these other traditional medicines.
Right. What you find with myself and a lot of natural practitioners, our goal is to really educate patients. So when I say I do energetic medicine, people come in, they give us their complaints. We relate that into very simple patterns that they can understand, and we give them dietary advice based on those patterns. So let's say you have a complaint, and in your complaint, it's a sort of a cold, damp pattern. So we'll give you herbs that sort of warm you up and then dry up the dampness. So we can tell you how to do that with your diet, but there's also herbs that are much more therapeutic. You know, you mentioned herbs. There are herbs that are very you know, that you can use as food, and there's also herbs that are very toxic, and maybe it's a small amount of the toxic herb which is balanced by other herbs that sort of detoxify the toxic part of the herbs, along with herbs that would be nurturing, which would be herbs that are like food. So in Chinese medicine, they create formulas, you know, so all of the herbs are based on formulas, and in the formula you sort of have a king, you have the emperor, you have his assistant, you have, you know,
it's
other
the heavenly
herbs.
kingdom is what it's all about.
You get a whole formula. And so, you know, this is what makes Oriental medicine and Chinese herbs energetic. But today, the challenge is to bring that local, right?
And also to use what's in your own local area.
So how do we,
just like using
how do
honey
we look
from
at
your own
Western
local area.
herbs through the same eyes, through the same lens, through the same philosophical construct as we're looking at the Chinese herbs? How do we bring that local?
Yeah, traditional Oriental medicine, I think, is very important because you have the Chinese, the Japanese, the Koreans, the Taiwanese, which are separate
but
from
all around
that.
the world, you have people with the same problem as we have here, where people are over-harvesting ginseng in the Appalachians. There's people in China that are over-harvesting some of the Chinese herbs. So we have to figure out a system, bring it locally, and figure out the herbs that are therapeutic that we can grow in our
Dr. Amin,
environments.
we're running out of time, but I want to ask you this question.
Yes.
Where do you see for the growth and development of the Wisdom Path Healing Center over the next 5, 10, or 15 years? You got about 15 seconds.
Well, we offer a
That's it.
service, and we're here to help people with this understanding.
That's fantastic. This is Dr. Amin, President of the Wisdom Path Healing Center. Thank you as we create the Emerald Planet.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Hey, Hard, what's this? That's my resignation. You're resigning. Why? You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit. Oh, I forgot. I'll do better. Please don't quit on me.
Don't let your heart quit on you. Get your uncontrolled high blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late.
So you can't save money? That's easy as pie. Brown bag your lunch instead of going out.
$6 save times 5 days a week times 10 years is $21,000. That's a lot of lettuce. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feedthepig.org.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally. I did. Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands? My son has lots of dolls.
But did you know terracloth diapers breathe better?
I did. Mm-hmm. It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that strollers have the right of way on the sidewalk?
Yes.
Yep, I did. Did you guys
Did you know that kids who eat breakfast have higher GPAs?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's actually what I was going to say.
Did you know babies should never touch silver? It's really bad for them.
I knew that. Did you guys know that statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected.
I'm putting that on my blog.
I just put it in mine.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock, the President and Executive Director of Emerald Planet and the Emerald Planet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe for those 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, products, and the people, of course, that are making a difference as we go through the 21st century. And as we have a planet of about 9 billion people by 2050 and maybe a full 12 to 13 billion by the end of the century, how are we going to be able to take care of all these people so that they have an enhanced quality of life and not just exist? And I have two ladies sitting right beside me that are actively involved in all this. Right beside me is Elizabeth Gilhuly. She is the president. And Cara, Cutro, who is CMT, and she's going to tell us what that's all about, but she's the secretary and you're the president of the American Herbalists Guild in Washington, D.C. Metro Chapter. So welcome, ladies. Glad to have you with us.
Glad to be.
Thank you for being here. Cara, tell us a little bit about what is CMT that's behind your name. I know that's a professional designation, but I've already been asked several times what that means. And how does that really enhance the work that you're doing with the American Herbalist Guild?
Well, I'm a certified massage therapist. And for me, I really like to use herbs in my practice. I mean, it's pretty common that people will have lotions or oils that they're using during a massage therapy session that have been infused with herbs that work to help relax muscles. But I use a lot of different herbs in my practice, applying them to the body. And anytime you go to even like a spa or something along those lines and you get like a body wrap or something like that, I mean, that is essentially herbalism that's being applied to you. They're putting herbs on you that help to flush the lymph system and clear out your skin and relax you or what have you. So.
Yeah, and this is all part of really what they call holistic health care. And how would you define holistic health care as it relates to the herbs, nutrition, all these things for fitness and long life?
Well, I think that holistic healthcare, there's so many different facets to that, and it depends on what you're drawn to. For myself personally, I wind up seeing an acupuncturist, I see a massage therapist, I have a holistic doctor, someone who's an MD who will turn to herbs or supplements first before they'll turn to pharmaceuticals. People need to reach out and find what works for them. There are so many options in terms of holistic health.
Yeah, Elizabeth, I'm going to change the next question I talked about a little earlier, but looking at this is that more and more people are waking up and feeling like they need to do things naturally and not be just dependent on chemicals. And whether it's drugs, it's manufactured or processed foods, all these other kinds of things. So now back to what we originally talked about, as far as the American Herbalist Guild. How does that relate to the fact that, we went through the industrial age, we had all this processed food, all this manufactured, foodstuffs and things in our lives, and now we're trying to move as we have increased incomes in many places of the earth. We want to move back to more traditional ways. How do we balance that? And what do you see as far as through the Guild, how you're helping people to understand that and know that actually there's another path instead of just this industrialized march to the future?
Yeah, it was in my parents' time period, better living through chemistry, but their grandparents used herbal medicine. So now we're coming back into awareness that we do have things we can use at home, and it's just a matter of completing the circle back to learning again the things that our grandparents once knew. And so it's just about education once again.
Now, we have 567 sovereign nations within the United States. These are the Native Americans, and yet their existence even today, even though there was great detours because of really taking over a lot of the lands and the forest areas and putting people in places that they had never been before, it was not actually a natural place for them to live. But at the same time, they kept many of these herbal and this natural way of living in their culture. How do we need to rediscover this, not only from the Native Americans in the United States, but indigenous peoples all across the globe to get back to where we were hundreds, even thousands of years ago?
Yeah, and that's important since we're a nation of immigrants, and so a lot of the cultural traditions that we would have been taught maybe in communities that were smaller communities, like where I don't know, you were more in touch with that sort of thing. So now
with
it's
nature,
just,
with earth within those local communities.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. So it's now coming back to that, finding our way back to that. I think a lot of it is actually economics and realizing we just want something we could do in our home. Maybe you don't have to go to the doctor every day for every little thing, which is going to tax our system ultimately, our economic and medical system.
Which that's already doing. We're spending a huge amount of money, and the unfortunate part is that the United States, I think we have one of the highest per capita expenditures for health care, and yet we're ranked in the mid-30s as far as success of the amount of money that we're spending, and that's really not a good place to be. We need to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
Cara, where are we on a day-to-day basis as far as your guild, your branch here in Washington, D.C., the Metro branch? What are you doing there, and how are you reaching out to people so that they know that, again, the same question back to Elizabeth, where there's another path, another way to think about health, about wellness, about nutrition, this whole thing of we are what we eat, food is medicine. How do we tie all together, or how are you tying all that together?
Well, we're a brand new chapter, so we're really at the ground level. And right now we're trying to gather information about who's interested. We're trying to connect people, just getting names, emails. We usually have a conference call together once a week and brainstorm ideas, getting organized with the different schools and apothecaries, different places where people can access herbal education, herbal products. Again, we're just beginning, so there's so much. It's actually a really exciting time to be involved.
Yeah, beginning for this chapter specifically, American Herbalist Guild has been running since 1989, and there's chapters all over the country on various levels of development, and we just started in October of last year.
Well, the whole thing about the understanding all this, and both of you have brought this up a number of times, but it's education. Education is key to all this. So through the Guild and through the National Association, which does have branches all over the United States, and I think also in Canada as well, how are you enhancing, expanding, or building on the education that you've had? Because this is a very unique market. in the Washington, D.C. capital region. You have the highest concentration of PhDs, you have the highest concentration of engineers, you have the highest concentration of even scientists. So you have all these people in this one large cauldron called, you know, the Washington National Capital Region. So how do you reach out to people that really, in many cases, are highly educated, but yet they're still looking for something that they know they need? They're not sure exactly what that is they're looking for.
And that's the nature of the chapter, which is I want to create a database of all the herbal practitioners specific to our area so that people can know where to find them. I mean, I myself...
So it's like networking. And reaching out and also, I guess, establishing and identifying new resources?
Yeah, establishing what resources are available, because there are so many different types of herbal practitioners, and it's even myself, you know, as we started this chapter and started a lot of the networking, I mean, I by happenstance found through a friend and flower essence practitioner that was very helpful. And so it should be a lot easier, particularly also herbal students coming out of school, you know, being able to help them market their businesses and just support other herbal businesses that have been out there for a while, but maybe they haven't gotten the exposure that they needed.
I see.
Yeah.
Cara, let's explore this. Food is medicine. We talked about this together before. We are what we eat. And this is something I learned both of these in 4-H when I was 8 years old and up till graduating from high school. But these truisms are even more true today than they were then, because people are less connected with the land, less connected with growing, in a sense, their own fruits, their own vegetables, herbs, and all these kinds of things. Yet there's a massive movement going on right now, particularly in urban areas, to green rooftops, growing food virtually, vertically, not in fields and all that. So how do we take this and allow people to realize they could be doing a lot of this themselves, but if you don't want to get sick and you want to have a vibrant life, you really need to think about this day to day and moment by moment?
Well, I think I'd mentioned this before, that in school, that was the first thing when I was in herb school that we addressed, was that food is medicine. That was the first thing that we look at when we're assessing someone, is what is their diet, and changing that diet in order to start to change the energetics in the system to make them feel better. I think that anytime someone gets in touch with their environment more, is able to have direct contact with any form of plant life, that is always healing of it in itself. I think education, again, is huge. If people can reach out, and especially in the city where there are just so many people, and once the guild or our chapter of the guild is more connected, there should be a lot more access to quickly find someone who's teaching a class, let's say rooftop gardening, or having these certain medicinal herbs in your window box, things that you can use right there at your fingertips. I live in a fairly rural area, so I'm in contact with plants a lot, and it's a huge part of my own personal health regimen, is being in contact with nature is huge for me. So I think that's really important for people to do.
Elizabeth, looking at, and we're just absolutely out of time, what do you see for the growth and development of your guild here in Washington, D.C. over the next 5, 10, 15 years? And you got about 13 seconds to do all that. As
Cara mentioned, we're continually growing, and as we're evolving and becoming more connected with the community, then we'll find the people that we need, and we'll connect them with the people looking for them. So that's like really the goal of the whole chapter. So it sounds like networking is really the key to all of that. Well, thank you for being with us. Thank you very much. You did a very nice job. And thank you for introducing us to all this excellent talent that you have as far as the herbs and all that is concerned. As we look around the world to create the Emerald Planet.